Today's lesson is solving multi-step inequalities. The same idea as that we did before with multi-step equations. Now we're just now putting them into inequalities. Remember, the only difference between the inequalities and an equation is when you multiply or divide from a variable, your inequality will switch from if it's greater to less than. That's the only difference between the inequalities and the equations. Notice on this one, it's not asking for graphing. So please, if it doesn't graph, don't graph. If it asks for graphing, graph it. So that's for you to read correctly. So our objectives is to solve multi-step inequalities with variables on one side and to solve multi-step inequalities with variables on both sides. Now I wrote at the top a little something that we did for our steps before. We have distributing like terms, the variables. You bring your smallest number to your biggest number, add or subtract, then multiply or divide. So remember, this is not an order of operations all the time. Just the same idea as solving multi-step equations. Now, if I look at A, I want to get A by itself. There's no other variable, so I'm going to just kind of make sure that this stays where it's supposed to be. Remember, we don't have to distribute. There's no like terms on the same side. There's no variables on both sides. So we're going to have to start with adding and subtracting. So I'm going to find the one that's adding or subtracting to A. Well, 6 is multiplying to A, so 7 is adding to A. So I'm going to subtract 7 to both sides. So it's 6A is greater than 12. And now multiply or divide. Well, 6 is multiplying, so we need to divide. So A is greater than 2. Remember, I did not switch the inequality because I wasn't multiplying or dividing by a negative. B. No distributing, no like terms, no variables on both sides. So we go to adding and subtracting. Well, negative 3 is multiplying to x, so what is subtracting is the 4. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides. So it's negative 3x is less than or equal to 18. And then I'm going to divide by negative 3. This time I divided by a negative, so it's going to be x is greater than or equal to negative 6. I'd like you to try C and D on your own and check it out after you've done all the work. Check and see if you did it correctly. All right. When you showed all your work, you should have gotten 1 is greater than t, or if you read from the variable, t is less than 1. And D, you have 3 is greater than or equal to n, or n is less than or equal to 3. So it depends on how you wrote out the answer. Now you have to show your work, so when you bring it to class, you better have some work along with this situation. All right. We will get back to the word problem. Right now I want to get to example 3. We'll do the word problem later. That's not a problem. So we need to distribute because there is distributing. I can do the 2. I'm going to distribute the 2 to everything. So it's going to be 2t plus 4 minus 3t is greater than or equal to negative 1. And then after distributing, we check and see if there's like terms on the same side. There's these 2. So 2t minus 3t is negative 1t plus 4 is greater than or equal to negative 1. And then you do your adding and subtracting. That's your 4s. So it's negative 1t is greater than or equal to negative 5. then divide by -1. And so I divided by a negative this time, so it's going to be t is less than or equal to 5. B. Sorry, I'm going to erase this so I can get more space out of it. I'm going to distribute the 2 first. 4p plus 2p plus 14 is less than 8. Again, like terms, these two are like terms, so it's going to be 6p plus 14 is less than 8. Subtract 14 to both sides. 6p is less than -6. Divide by 6, divide by 6. Notice I said 6, not -6, so I'm not going to switch over the inequality, so it's going to be -1. P is less than -1. I would like you to try C and D by yourself. Alright, so for C, I distributed the -2. Remember, you have to distribute the negative part of it too. So I did all my work, and so M is less than or equal to -3. And then D is 3 is less than B. You remember, have to show your work for it. All right. So, next is the word problem. The school band needs a banner to carry in a parade. The banner committee decides the length of the banner should be 18 feet. What are the possible widths of the banner if you can use no more than 18 feet of 48 feet of trim? So I know it's a rectangular banner. And they say the length should be 18. And we need to know the width. We don't know that. So, and the whole thing needs to be 48. Well, that is my perimeter. We're trying to find this outer part right here. So you have to remember the formula for it, which is P. And they say, in the thing, it says it can be no more than. So the perimeter is at the biggest. Is 2L plus 2W. That's your inequality version of a perimeter. So then I'm going to put in, substitute all the numbers. So 48 is my perimeter. That's as much as I can have. And it's 2 times 18, that's my length, plus 2W. We have to find out what 2 times 18 is. And that's 36. Subtract 36 to both. 2W equals, oh, not equal, sorry, less than or equal to 12. Didn't divide by 2. So my width would be 6 feet, sorry, I forgot the 6 part. 6 feet less than or equal to 6 feet. So that's how you would do this. All right, next section. All right, so this time we have distributing and variables on both sides. So we're going to do A and D together, and all the rest you're going to do on your own. So we'll do A first. So there's no distributing on A, but I have variables on both sides, so I'm going to take my smaller variable. You can do your bigger one, or you can do your numbers first. It does not matter. I'll do 4z to both sides. And then I have 2z minus 15 is greater than or equal to 11. Add 15 to both sides. 2z is greater than or equal to 26. Divide by 2. Divide by 2. Z is greater than or equal to 13. Okay, again, some of you want to know if you can do it differently. I'm going to do 6z minus 15 is greater than or equal to 4z plus 11. I'll bring the 6z over. I'm going to do it a couple different ways. I'm going to keep erasing what I do underneath. You can just watch and see which one is easiest for you and why I chose taking the smaller one over to the bigger one. So I get rid of that, and it's negative 15 is greater than or equal to negative 2z plus 11. Bring over 11, and that's negative 26 is greater than or equal to negative 2z. So I divided by a negative, so I have to remember to switch it over. And that's, see again, you have the same answer. But I'm just remembering to bring, the reason why I do it from smallest to biggest is so I do not have to switch the inequality. Okay, another way of doing it is I could start with a number. So I can add 15 over. So 6z is greater than or equal to 4z plus 26. Now I subtract 4z to both sides. So it's 2z is greater than or equal to 26. Divide by 2. Z is greater than or equal to 13. So you still get the same answer any way you look at it. Okay, D. We're going to distribute. This one has a couple distributing. So I'm going to distribute the negative 3 to all sides, to both numbers and sides. So it's going to be negative 12. And then a negative and negative make a positive 3m greater than or equal to 8m minus 28. Again, in my head, I'm going to get rid of, the reason why I do this is so I have a positive variable. I'm going to subtract 3m to both sides. Negative 12 is greater than or equal to 5m minus 28. Add 28 to both sides. That would be 16. 5m. Divide by 5. Divide by 5. So you can have 16 over 5 is greater than or equal to m. Or, if you're the kind that likes to have mixed numbers, you can do 3 1/5 is greater than or equal to m. So either one of these will work. All right. I'd like you to do B, C, E, and F and put me on pause, check it out and see if you got the right answer. If you didn't, check maybe where you might have gone wrong because I'm just giving you the answer. Please show all your work. All right, so for C, it's negative 15 is less than or equal to x, and F would be x is less than or equal to 5/7. With this fraction, it might become a repeating decimal, and it would be a very long one, so just leave it as a fraction if it's too much of a decimal. So just leave it as 5/7. All right, next part. All right, goodbye.